Bonjour, Kinamagi and Ireland Adishnikas, and welcome to this production of the My Math Network. Today's episode, Chapter 9, Lesson 11, Add Mixed Numbers. Begin by looking at the previous session's work. 1.5 plus 1 2/3, 3 and 1/2, and then 3 and 1/6, as you end up with 3 plus 4, 7, 6. So that regrouped to 1 and a 6 plus these two, 3 and a 6. Number 2, we had 1, 2, 3, plus these two would fit into here to make it a 4, which also could be read as 3 and 5/5. You see, you draw your models: 2 and 2/3 hours, 4 and a quarter, or 4 to 12 hours, and circular expression does not belong. This one, and that's because all the other sums were 3 and 5/6. Let's look at what today's work will be like. Just a sneak preview. We're going to you're going to estimate and add. You're going to write the sum in simplest form. So in your head, you're going to get an idea of what the answer should be, such as 2 and a 10th, that's close to 2, 5 and 7/10 is closer to 6. So my answer should be about 8, that kind of thing. If you get an answer where the fraction piece is not in simplest form, make sure you simplify it. The whole numbers will stay the same. We don't simplify those. They already are. You can see you got a few story problems. And I'll begin with the investigation piece. How do you add mixed numbers? Add the whole numbers, add the fractions, put them together. Using the models below, find the sum in the simplest form. So let's look at what we have. We have 2 and 2/3. And I try to make sure that my whole number is significantly larger. If I just have a 2 up here, it could look like 22/3, or real small down here, 2 20/3. Not a good plan. 5 and 2/3, basic, niche, nisway, ni, wan, nanin. And 2/3. Put them together. You see I have 1, 2, plus those 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Once I rearrange. So my whole number portion was 7. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4/3. Put them together. 4/3 is really going to be 1 and a third. Plus 7 is 8 and 1/3. See, these three together make 1, and then there's 1/3 left over. Make sure you rearrange and make sure you're adding the whole numbers together, those kind of things. Let's move a little forward here. See the answers. Kristen cycled for 1 1/4 hours on Saturday and 3 5/6 hours on Sunday. How much time did Kristen spend cycling during the weekend? Show your work. So 1 and 1/4 plus 3. Oops. You see that I've made an error. Fortunately, I caught it. You want to make sure you write it big enough. 3 and 5/6. So my first step is I want to get these to have a common denominator. The least common multiple of 4 and 6 is 12. So this is going to be 4 goes into 12 3 times. I do need to write the 12. 1 times 3 is 3. Plus 3 is my whole number. I know that 6 goes into 12 twice, so I multiply that 5 by 2. and I get a 10. Now I add 1 plus 3 is 4. And I have 3 plus 10 is 13 twelfths. This is an improper fraction. Really what this is going to be is 4 plus, now 13 twelfths is 1 and 1 twelfth. I got that because 12 goes into 13 one time with a remainder of 1, and 12 is kept. And my final answer, 5, is 4 plus 1, 5 and a 12th. It seems complicated at first glance, but once you get the hang of it, I'm confident you'll do pretty well. Let's go ahead and get into the textbook together now. And this will be on page 677 in your My Math textbook or packet. It says a lesson 11. There's a fishy on it, a blue one. It's a big fishy. Remember, the expectation is to fill this in as we go through the lesson. That way you have an artifact that you can look back to later on when you're doing the homework. If I'm moving too fast for you, feel free to pause the video while you're writing something in, and then unpause it when you're ready. And also, when I give you a work time, I ask you to pause the video. You do it, you unpause the video, and you move forward. If at any time you need to review something, feel free to pause the video, rewind it a little bit, and come back, try it again. All right, so let's look at example basic. A hammerhead shark swam 2 1/4 miles. The next day it swam 1 1/4 miles. How many miles did it swim altogether? And altogether is a key word for adding. And you can see that our problem is going to be 2 1/4 plus 1 1/4. You should estimate in your head, that's close to 2, that's close to 1. My answer should be close to 3. Nothing for you to write in there. Basically, we're just worried about getting the numbers and getting an idea of what we're going to get for an answer. Grab my annotation tool. All right, so 2 1/4 is 1 plus 1 plus 1/4. 1 1/4 is 1 plus 1/4. We regroup, so 1 plus 1 plus 1 is right here, and that gives you a 3. 1/4 and 1/4 is 2/4. Okay, I can't leave that as 3 2/4. I can leave that as a 3, but 2/4 can be simplified. They're both even numbers, so I'll divide top and bottom both by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So the hammerhead shark swam 3 1/2 miles. Sure you got that filled in? So yes, 2/4 still needs to be simplified even if it's in a mixed number. Give it a few more seconds. You could check your work using fraction tiles if you needed to. And I'm going to go ahead and clear the screen. And you should turn to the top of the next page, which is page 678. Here's an example niche. The diagram shows the length of a sea turtle. What is the total length of the sea turtle? So we had 7/8 of a foot, 3 1/4 feet, and 1 1/8 feet. Write an equivalent fraction for 3 1/4, so the fractions have the same denominators. So you notice we have 7/8, 1 1/8. So I'll make this 3 and something over 8, and 4 goes in 8 twice. So this will end up being 3 2/8. Now that we have the equivalent fraction, we'll move on. Now we have to do some adding on a very tiny screen. Get out your magnifying glasses, boys and girls. Maybe even a decoder ring for Ovaltine. And we have 7/8, which is, there's no whole number. 3 1/4, which is 3 2/8 now. So there's our 3 right here. and our 1. So that's going to give us 4. Now looking at the fractions, 7/8, 2/8, 1/8. And those are all right here. 7 and 2 is 9, plus 1 is 10/8. 10/8 can be simplified into a mixed number. And that is going to be 8 goes into 10 once. There's a whole number. Remainder is 2. We have 2/8. So now we have 4 plus 1 is 5. That's going to stay like that. And 2/8. Now 2/8 can be simplified by dividing top and bottom by 2, which brings us back to a quarter. The total length, 5 1/4. 5 1/4 feet. So they like to have you write 5 1/4 a couple dozen times. And go ahead and fill that in. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clear the screen. Guided practice. This is the first one I want you to do. They've kind of written it out for you for 3 3/8 plus 2 1/4. Notice that, or sorry, 2 1/2. Notice they've converted 2 1/2 to 2 4/8 because the least common multiple of 2 and 8 is 8. Go ahead, pause the video, solve this problem, come back and check it when you're ready. Welcome back. Let's see what we got here. We have 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, which is 5. Plus 3/8 and 4/8 is 7/8. The final answer, 5 7/8. Your estimate should have been close to 3 plus 3, which is 6. 5 7/8 is really close to 6. How to simplify 3 6/4? I like the 3. That's 6/4. 4 goes into 6 twice, once, and I have 2 6 remaining, or 2 4 remaining, which is a half. So 3 plus 1 1/2 is 4 1/2. All right, I'd like you to practice these 3 problems. Go ahead and pause the video, and I'll see you on the other side. Welcome back. Let's see how we did. 4 plus 3 is 7. 3/5 plus 1/5 is 4/5. We got our 11s here. 7 and 2 is 9. 4 and 6 is 10 over 11. This one, you're going to this is going to become 6 and 3/12. So we have 11 and 4/12, which 4/12 simplifies down to 1/3. At this point, I'm going to send you off to the homework, which is right here. If you have questions, please reach out to me or visit us during class. You may answer these using the Google Classroom. If you're doing a paper copy, it must get to us. So if you're homesick, you can always bring the paper copy on another day. Best of luck to you on the assignment. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Have a minute, Gijgat, Minwa, Amapi.